MySQL has a few unique aggregate functions or aggregate function usages. Most of the aggregate functions that are available in MySQL are also available in other platforms and are actually part of the standard. So we're going to focus in this lesson on those differences of MySQL. If you're interested in knowing more about the rest of the aggregate functions, take a look at my SQL Essential Training course here on lynda.com for a more complete reference. The most common aggregate function is the count function. I'm sure you've seen it many times. I'm going to go ahead here and select the world database. And what we'll have here is a count of all the rows in the country table in the world database. Of course, you've seen this before many times. The count function in MySQL also accepts the distinct keyword. And what this will do is we'll count the number of distinct values in the region column in the country table in the world database. So we see that there are 25 distinct values in the region column, and of course that means that there are 25 distinct regions in the country table. Now you may want to know how many countries are there in each region. You can do this like this. Select region, count of region, from country, group by region. And what this will give you is a count of all of the different values in the region column for each grouping of region by different region values. So for each value of region, it will count the number of rows in that group. And that'll give us the number of different countries in each region. And so again, the way this does is by grouping by region, what it does is it groups all of the different rows that have a single value of region and counts those. And so there are 5 rows that have the value of Antarctica in region. And there are 24 rows that have the value of Caribbean in region. And so by grouping them together this way, we can get a count within each group of how many rows there are with that value. And so that tells us how many countries there are in each region. Now that we have this data, maybe we'd like to know the names of all of those countries in each region. And for this, we have the group concat function. And that looks like this. Select region, comma, group underscore concat, that's the name of the function, with the argument of name from country and group by region. And what this will do for each region, it will list in one value the names of all of the countries separated by commas. Now this is a very powerful grouping aggregate function. You see, in Antarctica we have these countries, the Caribbean we have all of these countries. Now there's a couple of things about this that I don't like. I don't like that it uses a single comma and no spaces to separate them, because that makes things like this look strange. Virgin Islands, comma, US, comma, Turks. You don't even realize that Virgin Islands, comma, US is the name of a country. But you can see because it's got this space after the comma that it's not that kind of a comma. And so we'd like to change that. And also the names of the countries are not in any order. So we'd like to order those. Well, the group concat function is very flexible in these ways. We can put in here order by, and we can also specify a separator. And what I'm going to do for a separator is I'm going to use space / space so that it doesn't get confused with the commas that may already exist in some of the names. This will order the list within the group by name, so it'll be in alphabetical order, and it'll change the separator from this bare comma to something that's a little bit more readable. There we go. So now if we look at the Caribbean, it starts with Anguilla and Antigua and Barbuda and Aruba. And so it starts with the A's and it ends with Virgin Islands, comma, US, Virgin Islands, comma, British as well. So this is a list that we can actually use. Those are the aggregate functions that are different or unique in MySQL. Like I said, most of the aggregate functions that MySQL supports are available in other platforms and are documented in SQL Essential Training course here on lynda.com. What we're focusing on here are the ones that are different or unique to MySQL. MySQL has a very simple and very powerful full-text search feature. So let's take a look at how that works. We're going to create a table in the test database. So this will create a table with 3 columns in it: ID, title, and body. The ID column is auto increment. The title column is a string, and the body column is a text column. The word full text specifies a type of index which is used for the full text searches. So this creates 2 full text indexes, one on title and one on body. Let's go ahead and create the table. So our table is created, and now let's go ahead and insert some data. So we're going to insert a few rows of data, and there are these little articles with just a little line of text in them. And we'll just modify this for each one. There we go. So we've got 6 articles in our table now. Let's take a look at them. And there they are. Now let's do some searches on them. So we have a where clause here for the full text search. And we're using 2 keywords we haven't seen before: match and against. Match specifies the columns to use for the full text search, and against specifies the search term, in this case the word database. So let's go ahead and see what happens. So we see we have the word database in 2 results. One has exactly the same case as the one that we've searched for, and the other one has different capitalization, has a capital D and a capital B. And so we can see that we found both of those results, and this is called a natural language search, and it's a very simple search. It's interesting, if we add another word here, say MySQL, this doesn't change our results at all, because the word MySQL appears in every single article. And so the natural language search is specifically designed to not return results for search terms that exist in more than 50% of the rows in the database. And this is actually a very important feature, because if you were to search for a bunch of words and one of those words occurs in, say 80% of the possible results, you're going to have too many results and you're not really going to be able to find what it is you're looking for. So the natural language search ignores those results for search terms that occur in more than 50% of the rows in the database. On the other hand, if we look for the word tutorial with database, this will actually expand our results a little bit, because the word tutorial occurs in this row here, as well as in this one that has the word database in it as well. If we look for the word management, database management, we'll see one of our results has both of those words in it, and it comes up at the top. And one of them also just has the word database, and so it finds both of those results. If we want to find results that only have both the words database and management, we need to do a different type of a search, and it's called a Boolean mode search. We put the words here in Boolean mode, and then we have to put symbols on the words that we want to make sure that we match. And this symbol is called the AND symbol, and it makes sure that both of these terms exist in any returned results. So this should just return this one with the ID 1, this first row. And there we have it. On the other hand, we can look for results that do not have the word management in them, just the word database, but specifically not the word management. And that'll return just this row, which has database but does not have management. Finally, there's a third type of search that is supported by the MySQL full text search engine, and this is called with query expansion. And this is actually very interesting. You'll notice that we have 3 results, and one of them does not have the word database in it at all. We're searching for the word database, but we're searching for it with query expansion. And it's given us 3 results, and it thinks we might actually be interested in this third result, as well as the ones that have the word database in them. And the reason for that is in how it does this search. So the query expansion search works like this. It goes 2 passes through the database. The first pass, it looks for the search terms that you've provided. And then it takes the results from those search terms and finds words that are common in those results, and then does another search for those terms. So in our first results, it found some other words. It found tutorial, and it also found management and system and following and comparison. And it didn't find any of those other ones, but it did find the word tutorial. And so it thought, that result just may be relevant. We'll throw that in at the bottom and see if you're interested in that result as well. So this is called query expansion. It's actually a very useful tool, and it will help to find results that maybe you might not have thought of when you're searching a large database of text. So in a nutshell, that's how full text search works. I encourage you to create some tables and fill them with large amounts of text and experiment with this feature because it's actually very powerful and very simple to implement.